Welcome to our portrait lesson. Today I'm going to teach you how to go from here to here to here. The time has come for us to actually get to learn how to draw a real person. So this is going to be great. And before we get started drawing this person, I would like to show you how to prepare your paper, because we're going to use the grid method to draw this person. And sometimes that can feel a little tedious and you might just want to skip to the drawing part, but please don't skip to the drawing part. So let's learn how to grid off our paper to get ready to draw now. I have here an old back from an old sketchbook, so that's kind of a hard surface that's smooth, and I'm going to take my 8x10 piece of drawing paper and put it there, and then I'm going to tape it half on, half off all the way around. Now that it's taped, I'm going to use my pencil to find the corners under my tape, because we're going to use the whole distance 8x10 in our drawing when we measure. Next, we need just a simple ruler. This one I got at the Dollar Tree, and this one I got at Office Depot. I'm sorry if I'm advertising. My point is, these are about 99 cents or $1, so they don't cost too much, and it's completely worth it to have a little small ruler in your art supply kit. We are going to use the inches side because our paper is 8 inches by 10 inches. And when we start to measure, notice that there is always a bit of margin or leftover here. So when you lay your ruler down, make sure you start at the first line instead of at the edge of the ruler. When you position this line of the ruler right where you drew your line for the corner of the paper, it should be 8 inches on one side and 10 inches on another, all the way to the end. When you do this, make a mark at every inch on your tape. Now take your ruler and go to the other side. Be sure to start at the same end and line it up with the same corner. And you're going to do the marks again at every inch on your tape over here. Then rotate your paper and do that on the other edges. Remember to line it up at the line, not the end of the ruler, and go on every inch. It's also important when you line up your lines to make sure that your ruler is straight across, because if you go at an angle and you mark it, it's going to distort your image. So don't go at an angle. Go as parallel to the edge of the paper as possible. Sometimes you can see it beneath the tape and use that to line it up. Now we know that 2 points make a line, so you'll put your ruler across, even with the marks on both sides, and draw the line across. It's probably best to stand up and lean over your artwork so that you can see that everything is lined up properly, and you'll want to hold the ruler securely as you draw the line. Now I have my number 2 drawing pencil, and I have a fairly good point, but it's not a brand new point because I don't want it super sharp. And I don't want to press with all my might. I want to make sure my pencil is touching the paper and the ruler as I pull it across to leave just a faint line upon my paper. And you'll want to continue that for all the marks that you've made on your artwork. you will notice that the first row is smaller than the second one because I'm counting the paper all the way to this edge as the first inch. After you do one side, then switch to the other direction. I find it easier to rotate my paper and always pull across to get my lines than to try to reach. Now I have the full grid drawn, and I'm going to go ahead and draw the edge of my paper in as well, so that I can see the full square as I'm drawing from my reference. I also put tape on our line drawing reference so that the squares truly match. So they will be a little covered by green tape, so that means only in the white square is what I have to draw. Now everything should be a 1-to-1 ratio because this picture is the same size as this picture. And now, so that I don't get lost, I'm just going to number things. And let's use this corner at the top to be 0, 0. So this will be 0, 0. And this will also be 0, 0. So then we will have 1, 2, 3. So now I have 0 through 8 written at the top of the picture that I'll be drawing, and 0 through 8 on the top of my reference. Now I'm going to go down this column, this is 0, and number it this way. See, I have 0 through 10 on the left-hand side. Now I'm ready to begin drawing. Yay! Now that seemed like a lot of work and kind of tedious, but I promise it's completely worth it. And if you think you need extra help, you could put the numbers at the bottom and the right-hand side too. So I think since it's a small grid, I'm okay not losing my way with this way. Another way to do it is to, instead of numbering the lines, is to actually label the spaces. So instead of on the line, this could be row A and row B. So we can label it with letters. For the whole row. So if you find that helpful, that's okay to do too, but make sure you do it the same on both of them. Something else you might find helpful is to have a strip of paper that's long enough that you can reach across and isolate the area that you're working on. So in this case, the top row. So you can see the first square is empty, second square is empty, the third square has a bit of line drawing in the bottom right hand corner. So now I can isolate, look at that, draw the number 1 that's there on the left, kind of like the little squiggle that reaches across, and move on to the next square. I know where I'm starting because it's where I left off here, and now I need to look at where I'm going, which is something like that there, and then I can fill in the in-between. So something similar to that. Then I can move on to the next square, know where I'm starting. Oops, forgot this little squiggle. Little rainbow there. Find out where I'm going, heading down to there. And this is fun curly hair. All right, the next square. It's a little longer, kind of starts coming down, down, and I'm going to end the bottom of this square. Then there's nothing in 6, 7, and 8, all empty. All right, That's pretty close. Okay, then we can move to the next level. So we'll just scoot our piece of paper down. And nothing in the first square, nothing in the second square, and the third square. Her forehead is very near to this line. And let's get this bit of hair in this corner. And then we can do our forehead that pretty much starts there. Let's see if we can copy this shape. I'm going to come out and down. That's pretty close. And then we're ready for the next square. Looks like there's kind of a question mark kind of shape in the middle. All right, now we've got this square. That was a funny square. All right, and our next one, there's an itty bitty bit in this little corner up here. All right, and our last square, looks like it heads there, and this one's gonna follow the line a bit, and then just kind of wiggle to there. So we know that this line is going to continue, so I'm going to skip to this part of the square to get this little triangle right there, because that actually helps find where this goes. And this is close. All right, kind of tricky. Made it though. All right, and then the eyebrow starts when this line crosses over, and the eyelash is in this square here, but the eyelid is in the square over here. It starts at the line, down, kind of makes a line like that, and the eyebrow is going to be aiming for there when it comes off. Okay, now we'll go to this square. Wait, we should find out where we're headed. So we're going to be heading about here. And the farthest over is about here. All right, so now I can head over there. And then back over here. Oh, and there's a little curl right there. And this, now we're over the square. Okay, we've got our letter S. We've got another letter S. We've got some rainbows. This is because her hair is showing her wisdom. Oh, I made it to the next square. At some point, it becomes a little automatic, so that's why I just kind of head over, because I'm used to using these lines as guidelines to help me. All right, nothing else to draw until over here. Okay, find out where I'm headed. I'm going there. All right, it's kind of fun. I can almost imagine there's a face under here, but it's not there yet. All right, there's still nothing in the first square, but the nose is going to be in this square. So I know that this is as far over as the nose is going to go, and then it kind of bends backwards here. And there's a bit of a space here. And there's that curve. And then we have the nostril curve. All right, you got that fitting? Yes. All right, and this line is going to head over to the end like that. Okay. Then I have a little line in front here, and this is actually a curve that crosses this line and rejoins this line. So it kind of looks like an obtuse angle. So that we have this lower lash. Oh, I'm in the next square now. Whoops. Okay. I got to erase that part because I needed it to come from here. This is when we're really glad that we have this little detail eraser, because then I can just carefully erase the part that I don't want there. Like that. And then I can redraw what I do want. And we're going to put that pupil there. We have more eyelashes. Okay. And one on the line. Okay. Good, good, good. And then we have our smile lines. Let's get this other eyebrow on here. This one. The smile line. Okay, so when I get my smile line on, I noticed that I didn't bring this line down quite far enough from before. So I want to rectify that now before I get too far into this. There we go. So now I can go further down and across. All right, awesome. That looks right. Okay, then over here, I am heading all the way down to here. That's my goal, and I stick out a little farther. So here I go. Okay, now I'm in the square. Get the other side of this curl, and I'm going to find the top of this ear, which is about there. And I'm going to find the underneath of it. And there is a little line there in that corner. And then this comes up to here. Got an angle there and a little bit of curly hair. Okay, yep, next square. Little wiggle there. V. All right, where am I headed here? I am headed about to there and to there. So curve that way, and then this one has a slightly different direction that it heads like that. The square has more of the nose. So I'm going to just keep going a little farther down there and get this bottom edge. Because we're seeing this from the side, you can see the in-between of the two nostrils kind of showing up there. Got her smiley cheek, and her upper lip comes more from the center area here instead of way back here. So your noses fit in your face more than you realize, because you think they stick out, but really they fit more in than out. This line kind of would follow that line there to be here, and this corner has part of a smile there. This line is helpful for the middle of the mouth, and we want to find how far over we are. About here. And we're going to stop here, so we'll go that way. that way over. And then we have our lower lip to there. And her upper lip is thinner than her bottom lip. So we have something like that. And then we have a nice dimple for smiling. Then there's nothing in that square. At least no line drawings. We'll show you with shading later. And in this one, we're ready to complete this ear. That happens just a little lower there, a little lower there. Oh, we should find out where we're headed before I get carried away. This is part of her earring. That's why it has that geometric feel to it. All right. We have very little in there. We just have some hair that kind of peeks down the bottom. And this little corner has a little hair on it. So that this is going to go over there. And we've made it past all the difficult parts. So good news. If you've made it this far, you can totally do this. And I won't be upset if it doesn't look like my friend. So she has agreed to pose for this. And we will all be kind. It doesn't have to look exactly like her. This is a learning exercise. That's more the bottom lip. Her face is going to come down to really this line. And her chin. Will be in front like that. All right, now we can finish this smile line and this dimple. And the chin will come up a little. Her jawbone will come up a little to there. Now we get to have fun with this earring. So it has a line there and a line there. There's the ear. All right, and now we have the base of her hairline. And part of how her shirt, I think you gotta move that over. Part of how her shirt lays on her sweater. Nothing in that square, almost nothing in that square. It's just like a right triangle there. And we're headed here. So we can go from our right triangle to there, and we have the two lines for her sweater. Nothing there. Bottom of that cool earring. Bottom of her sweater. And now the sweater will continue, and it's kind of got a fun neck on it that is like drapery, like we talked about last time with drapery. This one really has that drapery feel. All right. Yay, we just have clothes to do now. Here we go. We're down to line 8. Nothing here. We have part of the sweater here. And then it Y's apart so that this part goes to that line and this part goes to that line. We have the remaining part of her neck, and it looks like I got that part too straight, so instead it needs to happen more at a curve for her clavicle. And then the sweater can come like this. So we have her neck. And in this square, the sweater is coming all the way from there. Get that. We need the bottom part of the neck here. Over, and up to there. And the back of her sweater and connects to that. Then there's a fold in the fabric. Then there's some more fabric-y folds and overlaps to there. And then this goes from that corner up to there. And the other fold of the neck happens there. And this comes on down to there. Look, we've almost made it. We're rock stars. Okay. This goes to here. Another one there. Let's finish this line first, because that's going to make it easier to get these other overlapping folds. Okay, and nothing, and yes! We did it! We drew the whole thing. Yay! All right, this next step is why people can sometimes be reticent against drawing a grid in the first place, because it feels like that it was pointless, but really it wasn't. It was super helpful. Now, if you want, you could use your fine line eraser for when you're close to your lines, and then when you've got a big space like this, you can use a bigger eraser for this big stuff. Or you could use the big eraser for the big stuff and then use the little eraser. The point is, we're going to get rid of all those squares now. As you can see, I've taken my time and I've done a pretty thorough job of trying to erase those squares, that grid out. It's not something that you can really do later, so really spend a lot of time doing your best to get it all off. You can see places where maybe I pressed a little harder with my pencil. There might be a faint ghost line there, but I've pretty much been able to get it as clean as possible. Okay, I'm ready to get started shading. I have my pencil, my regular eraser, my eraser stick, my paper stump, and my kneadable eraser. The other thing that I have handy is I have a piece of tracing paper that I can lay under my hand to keep the graphite from getting here and smearing all around. And an extra thing that I have, and I just have a piece of scrap paper because I'm going to need to do a puddle of graphite to help me with my shading. So first off, I'm going to get my pencil and my paper stump. We'll spend a lot of time with these first. Because my paper stump is new and doesn't have any graphite on it, I need to make a puddle. So, since it's not a liquid, it's kind of a funny thing to call it a puddle, but I like to call it a puddle because that gives you the idea of going in there for more graphite. So I'm going to make myself a square that's about almost 2 inches by 2 inches. And then I'm going to color really hard to get it very full. All right, that's my graphite puddle. So the reason I call it a graphite puddle is, see, I can rub on it and then it's like paint now, only it's graphite, see? Which is pretty cool. All right, so I'll fill that back up. And that'll be ready for me to use to shade. So here it goes. Gonna get a little bit of this, and I can gradually build this up. So you can see that there's more of a shadow there. So I can build that up first. And then as it gets empty, I can go broader. Get a little more. Following the shape of that forehead. And as I'm doing it, I can notice that, like, oh, perhaps I need the forehead to be a little bit different. So I can alter a little bit. Bring that forehead in so it's a little less bulgy there. Oh, I'll stick with the same side. Gonna blend up those brows. All right, so see more shadow there, so I'll put more in there. Sometimes I go in circles, sometimes I follow strokes. First, I want to get enough of this on here that I can play with my eraser later. So first, I'm just trying to get basically some water on the water slide, because you can't have fun on a water slide without water. And this is like the graphite equivalent. You want enough graphite on here to have fun with it. I followed that flow of the cheek. Followed this direction on the eyelid. Gonna get some more brows in there. Because with the line drawing, I was very minimalistic about the brows, but there's a bit more. And I went ahead and shaded all inside that eye because I think I didn't quite have it right, and I can fix it better with an eraser. I'm going to keep going around the hairline. Okay, so I've mostly been just on the tip, but now I'm going to hold it differently so I can get it on that full side of this larger. So I can get this whole cheek. See how that works? So fill that in. I gotta put my finger behind it for pressure. I can get that cheekbone. Then when it's almost empty, that's when I can use for the lighter skin. I'm just matching this dark area here. And here. You just build it up little by little. And we're going to get this ear in here. My puddle's starting to get empty, so I'm going to have to refill my puddle. And you'll know if it's getting empty because even though it still looks dark, when you rub on it, not much changes. So that's the main way to know. So another way you can do it is you can actually use your pencil to put in very carefully the darker areas. So this is what we learned when we did our seashell. Kind of put in the darkness and then back up on the tip to go in circles and blend that out. Okay, so there's more darkness on underneath of this earlobe, so we'll lay that in with a pencil so you can get that to be darker. So I think I prefer using the puddle really because I can get a softer application. So I'll save those for places that I really need like very intentional lines. So like for instance, at the bottom lip here. And inside the nostril here. All right, so you get the idea. That's how we're going to build up the skin color. So we're just going to continue kind of layering and building up. And so this video doesn't get terribly long, I'm going to go offline a bit and do some more shading and then come back in a second so that you'll see just layer, layer, layer. All right, so I've got a pretty good base coat of color on the skin tones. And now I'm going to work on some of the blouse work. So we're just going to add kind of some ribs to the sweater. So we'll come this way. All right, and then I'm going to use the side of my pencil to kind of shade in the dark areas. I did the ribs first to the sweater. So that they can kind of continuously be a part of it. Now I'm using a little less pressure. So I'll go in the same direction as the ribs. Should probably do a lesson on drapery at some point because this is the second time that it's come up. There, that's enough. Now we'll just use our blender step to blend this in, get a little pigment different from our skin. And I'm gonna probably keep it a little on the loose side. What that does is that I don't have to spend a ton of time working on the apparel and it will have an artistic flair to it. So I'm just going to kind of keep that a little loose. There. That's good. And I'm going to lay my tracing paper over it so I don't get that on the side of my hand. And now for the hair. So you can see she's starting to gray, but it's still pretty dark in the back. So we want to lay in color again. Notice I haven't used my eraser yet at any point in this project for shading. So let's go ahead and lay in some color there. And let's do kind of what we did with the shirt and use like the back of our pencil or the side of our pencil. And kind of lay in a soft layer to build up that tone. We don't want to press with all our might because then we won't be able to erase well to get those highlights. Gonna leave some spaces in that area and then get a little closer together when I'm back here. Okay, now I can blend. Still haven't done any erasing, and I'm gonna get it built up a little darker right behind the ear because that's one of the darkest places. Because she's facing the light in this image. So I'm gonna build up, and eventually you can't go any darker, and so you're gonna need to show form by erasing out the highlights. So when you go lighter, the lighter next to the darker helps it have form and stand out, because you can't go darker than this pretty much. I'm gonna just rub a little on this earring so I can get back to the boldness in a bit. I decided to just go ahead and get it really dark so that you can see what happens here. Don't be afraid to get it quite dark before you do any erasing, because if you don't have any graphite there to erase, you're not going to be able to get that good contrast. So definitely build up, get lots of layers, go darker than you would expect, and then really look for the darkest places and get those in. Like, just keep building up little by little, gradual by gradual, getting those darker spaces in. All right, now I'm ready with my little eraser stick, and I like this one because it's a smaller diameter, but it's pretty strong, so it can get in there. So just to show you, we can pull out this eraser and then get this earring to be really bright on there. Now, it probably wasn't the best idea to do that first, but I'm doing it mostly so you can see the contrast of how it stands out compared to how dark everything else is. If you erase this earring and it doesn't stand out, then you probably don't have enough gray everywhere else. So just take some more time to put more gray in more places if this doesn't stand out for you when you do it. So it will be an indicator of that at least. Okay, so I'm gonna lay this down so that I'm not erasing and just smearing it back on again. And I'm gonna find these highlighty points. So I'm gonna go gentle circles to get them again. And so these are the places where light hits. And it's gonna be in front of the eye. I want to get that line for the eye to really stand out. So I've got black and I've got white and got that pupil in place. then the eyelashes. Okay. So this eraser is very good for getting lines of white, which is helpful when a dark side is right next to a light side, like on this earlobe. All right, and it will be great to get these nice lighter hairs in. I feel like I'm writing in cursive writing with my eraser. And then back here, it's more just little tips. So the most gets erased here in the front. And then I can go back in with my pencil and re-accentuate some of those nice little curls. All right, we're really getting some good presents. And now it's time, let's tap this off and get our kneadable eraser out. So this is great for lines, but this is great for larger spaces. So for instance, we have this line here at the edge, but now just like Silly Putty, we can pick up that highlight off of her cheek. And you shape it to the space. So I'm going to pick up some off of that forehead. And obviously I could go off of the page onto the background. That's not going to mess anything up. And I can pick up a little bit more off of this ear. Front of this chin. I want to keep the shadow on the jawline underneath, but this is good to pick up here. And if you get too much, then you can always just go back and put it back in again. But you can see it gives a nice glow to the skin. It's able to get it softer. To remove it. It's very fun. And let's try it a little bit on this hair to see if we can get it even lighter here. Oh yeah. Very good. To clean off your eraser, you just stretch it. All right, so I'd say spend lots of time layering, erasing, drawing back any lines that are important that have come off, and paper stumping, and just kind of go back and forth, back and forth. You can draw in little details of hair again if it gets all blurred out, and then you can lighten it using this. You can use the puddle and the paper stump to create soft curls and shades in this area. You'll need your eraser stick to erase out any highlights in the dark areas, because nothing will be able to get that to show up without that. And this is really great to kind of create with pencil and paper stump these edges to give that form. Like that. Then I can always lighten it if I need to, like that. So yeah, so this is pretty much done now. And so the last thing would be to erase the edges, though. Let's see. We've got this kind of neat effect here. Let's see if we have enough of this on here to get this corner. Okay, and so now that I've gotten those corners, now I can erase out here. So I'm going to clean up these edges. I prefer using my larger eraser for the parts that I can get to easily, and then go in with my detail eraser for the edges closer by. And the reason for that is this eraser picks up very nicely, and there's just less there for the eraser stick to smear around, so I don't have to keep cleaning off my stick. Right, now I can switch to my eraser stick and I will clean this up. I've cleaned up the edges, but let's erase some highlights out of this ribbed sweater too, because I think that'll be striking. So I'll get these highlights off of here. Okay, that's it. So I hope you have fun with this. It will not be quick. It will take a very long time, but just keep layering and erasing and layering and erasing, and just think of this as a pickup. This will pick up things that you lay down. You can pick up stuff. And I will see you at one of our meetups. Thank you very much. Bye.